Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight I'm proud to bring you Bob Vosseller in Spaced Out. And he has a wonderful guest, and I'm looking forward to the show. Greetings and welcome, Bob. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Here we are in October.
Fantastic. If you need me, I'm here.
All right. Thanks, Hercules. Tonight I have a very special show because we've been trying to arrange this for if not months, if not years. Um, but finally we've connected our schedules, and Dean Rogers, celebrity interview host, Star Trek fan film actor, Starfleet chapter commanding officer, the USS Mae Jameson, and my longtime friend. I've known Dean for many years now. Uh, has it been at least 30 years? I would not be surprised.
Close to 30 years, close to 30 years.
Yeah, pretty close.
Who's
Uh,
counting now?
I have watched you grow up, Dean, and you were an extraordinary person. And you bring your enthusiasm and love for the arts and writing and fandom to all new heights. And I'm very pleased to finally have you uh, share your story and your journey with us tonight. Um,
Really?
Dean, what led you to being, first off, a Star Trek fan? And you're more than just a Star Trek fan, but we'll
Mhm.
start off there. Uh, and had a huge part in fandom. So why don't you talk about that first?
We got it. Well, I have to thank my mother, Sharon Rogers, who got me in Star Trek in the first place. It all started around, I want to say 1986 when Star Trek 4 came out. And she took me to the movie and when it was on VHS, and we popped in the tape, and I was wondering what was this, and she told me about a little bit about Star Trek and its history. And then there was a show called Star Trek Next Generation, which I found it was coming to Channel 20, my favorite channel at the time. And my mom wanted me to watch this new show. And I remember looking at the screen and seeing LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow, since that's one of my favorite shows as a kid and still is to today. And we became hooked. In fact, Star Trek became my favorite show and my bond with my mother. In fact, back in 1991, when the Star Trek 25th anniversary exhibit at the Air and Space Museum, she actually waited in line for tickets for my sister and I and her to go to that exhibit. And I went to the exhibit, saw the Enterprise up close in person, saw the uniform, saw the chair, saw the buttons, and I've been a Star Trek fan ever since. And it took about 3 years to go to my very first convention, which was 1994, January 9th. And it was the Creation Convention Saudi tour at the, well, is now the former Renaissance Hotel. They changed it to the Westin recently. And I first met Marina Sirtis and Jonathan Frakes. So it's been over 30 years since that first Star Trek convention, and I've been going to plenty of conventions ever since that very first one. So, long story short, my mother was the Star Trek fan who got me into Star Trek.
That is cool. That is cool. Um, Now, you've had a long tenure, and you continue to, with Starfleet, the International Star Trek Fan Association. Now having reached the rank of Rear Admiral. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when you were a little ensign, so you're making me feel old.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us a bit about that. And you've been on several different chapters in several different areas and several
Yeah.
different regions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tell me about the chapters that you've served in and the capacity that you've served them in. Starting off with your first one.
Okay. Well, a little story goes along with that. So I found Starfleet through the 5K Star Trek race down at the wharf in 1995. And I found out about this group called the Alpha Centauri, which was located in Camp Springs, Maryland, which was not too far from where I was living at the time in Fort Washington, Maryland. And I joined the chapter, and they told me if I wanted to earn rank responsibility, I need to join Starfleet. So I signed up for Starfleet, and it was Valentine's Day. I'm not kidding you. My first join day was Valentine's Day in 1996. And I served with the Alpha Centauri for roughly 5 years and risen to the rank of cadet commander. And then once I turned 18, I became full commander. And I was the assistant cadet chief. I was assistant chief of cadets. Then I became the chief operations officer. And then in 2000, I switched over to the Highlander, another Starfleet ship in Maryland, which was in Westminster. And that really turned the tide as far as my involvement with Starfleet, because it was in 2000 and after the 99 regional conference, I thought about, okay, I've been a cadet for 3-4 years. Is there a program that we could help upcoming cadets or current cadets? So I created the regional cadet program at the time, the first one. And I did that for a number of years. And through that, I was, in fact, the award is actually right behind the computer, awarded Cadet of the Year in 1999 for both regional and fleet. And then the following year, I was the member of the year for region. So those changed the tide, and I served with Highlander for a number of years. And then the Alpha Centauri was slowly fading away in the DC area, and Highlander was a bit too far. It was in Westminster, so it was a bit of a drive for me. So it's like, maybe I should start my own chapter. And in 2005, I started the USS Top Gun, not kidding. And people thought it was the name of the movie, why I named that. And I said, no, it's not the reason. The reason why is because of a man named Roy Morris, who was my NJROTC instructor back in high school. And I told him that after high school, I was going to do something to dedicate my way to him, to thank him for helping me through ROTC those 4 years. And I found out the year before we launched that he was an actual Top Gun. He was Goose's position. He was a radar intelligence officer in the United States Navy. His rank was lieutenant at the time, and his call sign was Gator. And what I found out, which he never talked about in ROTC at all, he was one of the last remaining naval teams to engage a Russian MiG.
Wow. That is so cool.
So that's why I called the ship the Top Gun, and that's why the top honor of my ship at the time was the Roy Morris Award, which a few people won. And then I served on a few chapters, but by the time my 5 years as commanding officer went, some incident happened within the region, within a couple of officers, that made me want to take a step back in Starfleet and focus on the magazine, which I started in 2009. And I did the magazine. I stayed a member of Starfleet, joined a couple chapters. And then it was 2018, my first executive officer, Marie Wilson of the Top Gun, convinced me I need to be active again. And I told her, I'm good. I got a magazine going. And then she gave me the good speech, and I went back and helped her with her chapter, the ISS Lone Wolf out of Region 11. And that went for a year, and it got folded, unfortunately. Then I transferred to Olympus. And the commanding officer at the time, Les Rickard, who we both know, decided to promote me to flag officer. And I said, gosh, I gotta wear those uniforms. So I served on the Olympus, and the Olympus changed 3 commanders within 3 regions in the 3 to 4 years I was there. And then I met up with Christian, who is my current executive officer, and we noticed that there's no DC chapters anymore. So it was the same situation I came into almost 20 years later. And then the May episode was, and I'm a commanding officer again.
Full circle in a way.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you back in Region 7 and serving in that role of leadership there. Now, along your journey here, you became involved in a special fan film project, the Farragut, and tell us how you got involved with that and how long that went. And I believe you're part of the Farragut Forward project. I only got to start to watch it. Unfortunately, I had some unexpected visitors and got interrupted that evening. But I do promise to go back and catch it all tomorrow.
Of course, of course. So Starship Farragut started, my involvement was at a sci-fi convention, Shoreweave, and I found out they were filming a fan film in Maryland. And I said, hey, that's my home state. I might as well see what they're doing. So I contacted them and contacted them and contacted them. And I didn't hear from them until 1 year later when they were doing their second episode for Want of a Nail. And at the time, they needed a photographer. So because I had some photography skills, I decided to take my camera and go up to a park in Southern Maryland, shoot some photography. And that I thought I'd done my part with Star Trek. I'm good. That is until about a month later, they called me again. They said, we love your pictures, but we're filming the bridge scenes in Port Ticonderoga, New York, and we need some people. Would you like to come shoot some scenes as an actor? And the first words on my mic was, am I going to get killed in this episode? And I said, okay, then I'll be your man. So we went up to the former Retro Film Studios, which was in the car garage, the car dealership at the time, and stepping into that uniform and stepping onto the bridge, the full 360 bridge for the very first time. And I was crying inside and out because I never thought this young boy from Maryland would step onto a bridge, would film an episode, be in a uniform, and it's a dream come true.
Oh
And
yeah, it looks the same. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
And the saddest part was I wish my mom was alive to see that happening because I know she wanted to be part of Bridge, and here I am, part of that bridge crew, and did my one episode, got a couple lines, and they asked me, "We need to name a character," and I thought, okay, what can I name? As I got the name, and this is where my RTC instructor came in. I told him I was going to honor him some way, and I decided to name my character after him. I only knew the A. I didn't know what the A stand for, but I named him Roy A. Morris. But I decided to go with Adam, and I was very close because his middle name was Anthony. And like him, he's a pilot. He was in the helmsman seat in the second episode I was in, which was my first. And then I switched him over to navigation. And I was telling the guys, I just learned this console. I got to go in a new console now. And it's like, okay, I'll just roll with him. And I went from that second episode all the way to the final episode, Homecoming. So that was in total 9 years, going from Ticonderoga, New York for the second episode, then going all the way down to Georgia for the remaining 4 or 5 episodes, being on the bridge, playing my character, having a great time. And at the same time, I got to expand on my skills as a photographer because I shot still photography on the sets for the classic Trek, and also did some interviews and did the Homecoming Chronicles. So Farragut was a gateway for me to expand on my interviewing skills and my photography skills, and I'm so grateful for them. And then to do Farragut Forward just a couple years ago on a set, but this time as a script supervisor and doing some still photography. It was amazing. And then to get called again to put on the Monster Maroon for a couple of promos, and also a promo for the Indiegogo project at the time. It was dynamic, especially I played that character, I think, in 3 different projects, and he's gone from an ensign back down to a cadet, then to lieutenant, then to lieutenant commander for a sister fan film, and then he became a commander of another ship, the USS Constitution, which he's not featured in this first movie, but he will be in the upcoming sequels that's coming down the road. And to be on those sets, it's mind-blowing to say the least. I describe it as I'm going to a 23rd century space camp. I'm there for a week. I'm in a uniform and I'm living Star Trek. I can't say playing Star Trek. I have to say living Star Trek because I'm on a set. I'm in the uniforms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you walk around and see these 360 sets, you're immersed for that entire week. It's like the world of the 21st century does not exist for that week. You are in the 23rd century as your character.
I can only imagine that. I mean, Emily and I have only recently gotten a little taste of doing some fan film stuff, but we don't go to a set. We get a backdrop, a green screen, at our own USS Challenger headquarters in Seaside Heights, and we did that earlier this year. And some scenes have to be reshot. Because unfortunately there was a technical problem and some of the footage was lost. So we got to relearn all our lines again, you know, and we're going to be shooting at a different location, but a different clubhouse with the same situation. And while I don't think the project is as long as what Farragut was, I think you had like full hour episodes, right? Or
Yes, we actually had roughly all of our episodes were between 35 minutes to a full hour, but filming it took a lot longer time. I mean, between second.
Even for like a 10, you know, this is supposed to be a 10-minute project or a 10-minute, you know, mini movie, maybe 15 at most.
Yeah.
But the reshoots and the different angles, and you kind of see where actors, you know, get their, you know, talent, and that hurry up and wait thing when you know, like, because Emily is on a ship and I'm the admiral giving the order, having an exchange between you know, the captain, who's also the producer, very talented guy, a big Star Trek fan that lives a few towns away from us, Terry Bird. So and he's the director, and we're taking direction, and it's fascinating. At the same time, it's like, you know, we have to do our homework. We have to learn our lines. We go back and forth, even for a short thing. And then once you learn them, like I would use one word of like opportunity, and I would just turn around and start doing my spiel. And Emily had to like, stop already. but it is fun. It is fun. It is challenging, and it is more than, you know, that I knew it involved. And I'm sure, you know, in your case, you had to learn probably more scenes and longer scenes, plus blocking and all that kind of stuff. Like, we really haven't had to worry about that. We're pretty much standing still, you know, especially in my position, literally in my position of sitting there, being like, giving the orders and explaining the orders, but having to change my voice inflection, and you know, it was really cool. So, you know, I commend you for, you know, really getting into it and getting an idea of what it would be to be a full-time actor, you know.
Absolutely. And it was quite a challenge, especially since I've done high school, college theater before that point, and then to transition from being an actor on a stage to being in a fully immersive set where I'm being attacked by Klingons or have to activate a transporter, which I've done. And I had to remember what my character is, what was the moment he was thinking, get the buttons, know where the camera is, and make sure not to look at the camera. But there is a funny story in regards to that, because when they switched me from helmsman to navigation, and we were in a frantic Romulan battle, and I was pushing the buttons frantically, and I had the sound designer walk me over and told me, Dean, do you realize that every button you push, we have to create a sound? And I said, no, I didn't know that. And he said, okay, think of it like typewriter. You're slowly learning the typewriter. Push your button here. Push your button there. But don't go, no. Don't go frantic. Because every button you hit is another sound. So if you watch from the second episode I was in, which was oh my gosh, I can't remember. It was the one with Captain Carter's father in. To the later episodes, you would see my movements in the helmsman console from frantic and not knowing what the hell I was doing to knowing the character inside and out.
Wow.
And that's
Wow.
a
Like
lot of fun.
evolution, like, you know, a skill like any other, and you're learning, and it does. It takes a lot of more thought than you think, you know.
Mhm.
So now moving from being, an actor to being a celebrity interviewer. Tell us how you got involved and how with the Rogers Review,
Well,
which is
before
like a dream come true for you as well. And
it is
another chapter of your incredible life here.
absolutely, and the viewers will see I'm actually wearing my official shirt for my outdoor interviews. So it actually started before TRR, back when I was in college at Bowie State University. And I found out there was a game show network Get School tour happening at one of the local malls here in Bethesda, Maryland. And I contacted the host, which was Todd Newton. He hosted Women the All New Pressure Luck and Hollywood Showdown and Family Game Night, and he hosts The Price is Right Live. So I asked him if I can do an interview with him for my college newspaper, and he said sure. And he became my very first celebrity interview. It was a game show host, and we really bonded. In fact, we are friends still for 20 plus years now. Anytime he comes through the DC, Baltimore, or nearby areas for the Price is Right Live, which he still hosts, because I was there
Mhm.
when he hosted all the way in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and I drove out there almost every time it's out there and see the different hosts like Mark Summers and Mark L. Wahlberg and him. And he became my first celebrity host, very comfortable, very cool. And then I did some interviews every now and then for another magazine before I transitioned into the Rogers Review, which is back in January of 2009, which it started just, and it's hard to believe, it started just as a movie review site. That was it. And then I say about a year later, I realized I want to cover more. I covered a couple red carpets. And the very first red carpet I got to cover as an entertainment reporter was the night of the Museum 2 Battle of Smithsonian. And it was here at the Air and Space Museum in DC. It was a blue carpet because I always hear red carpets, but I saw it's a blue carpet and I wonder why. And someone told me that they changed carpets to fit the theme of the red carpet. So in this case, Air and Space, blue carpet. And it's like, sweeps.
Mm.
And the interviews I've done were sensational, especially I got to interview Rami Malek before he became Freddie Mercury and win the Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody. I got to interview John Berthal, who became the Punisher later on. But the person I got to interview at my very first red carpet, the famous of all the stars, so even though all of them were good, like Amy Adams and Owen Wilson and Ricky Gervais, I got to talk to Robin Williams on my very first red carpet.
Wow. What a what a kickoff. Wow, that is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes. And then the next day, I had to take someone, a family member, to an airport, and I got this ticket for the after party. And I nearly turned it down. It's like, I got a responsibility. And I'm like, say, wait, Dean, you have an after party ticket. When will be the next time you'll go to a red carpet, let alone an after party? So it's like, you know what? I'm going to live low. I
Yeah,
will.
you gotta, yeah.
And it was sensational. I mean, most of the stars were there. I got to rub shoulders with Hank Azaria from The Simpsons. I got to have a picture with the Punisher, John Bertha. But having a picture with Robin Williams on the after party was so sensational. And he called me Tuskegee Airman, which was kind of weird because one of my family members, one of my relatives, was an actual Tuskegee Airman. It's like, okay, how did he know? How did he know that? So I have a picture on my wall of Robin and I told myself, if I never do a red carpet from this point on, I will always remember that picture. I will always remember that memory. And to find out he passed away 3 years later, that hit me hard because
Yeah.
he was a wonderful man, a wonderful actor, one of my favorite actors. And for this young boy who had a speech impairment growing up, and
Mhm.
to go from that to 12 years of speech therapy to acting, then to reporting, and can handle interviews like no tomorrow, and to interview a guy like Robin Williams, a great woman like Viola Davis, Eugene Cernan, the last man to walk on the moon.
Mm.
All these actors, directors, producers for 15 years straight, red carpets, going to Las Vegas to talk to Mark Wahlberg for Wahlburgers, going to Florida to do the Mickey Mouse Club 30th anniversary, going to Connecticut for 90s Con to interview the cast for Family Matters.
Mm.
And I have to pinch myself every time. It's like,
Yeah. What
I
an
interviewed
opportunity.
who and what and where, and these happened.
Wow.
And I have to thank my professor, Dr. Thomas, for giving me the best advice of my reporting career, my media career. And it carried me all the way to this day. He told me, never treat the celebrity as the celebrity. You treat them as if they're your best friend. You haven't
Yeah.
seen her in a while. You're just shooting the shit. Hope I can say that.
Yeah. We've done worse, you know.
and, and have fun. And a lot of these interviews, I've had so much fun. Even A-listers, C-listers, Star Trek actors, non-Star Trek actors, boxers, wrestlers. I interviewed someone who was on the cabinet for President Obama. And my friend lost it when she found out who it is. And then doing it in Starfleet. It's like, I never knew that what I've done, I would do it for Starfleet. And I got to interview Dave Blass, who was the production designer for Star Trek Picard. I got to interview the very first president of our organization, Starfleet.
Mm.
I mean, it blows my mind all the doors it had opened for 22 years. I've been doing celebrity interviews, and then 15 with my magazine, and then bringing those interviews not only to Starfleet but to Starfleet Communique, which the fleeters get to read these interviews and get to know the stories I got to know. And it's sensational. Truly
Yeah,
sensational.
also having, being in the media business, local to this area, but also having my share of over the years interviewing different celebrities from different walks of life, be it Heather Locklear or Emma Sams or others, from the Star Trek world or Doctor Who world. One
Mhm.
thing I've always learned is that they're just like us. They put, like they say, they put one leg in their pants at a time.
Yep.
And you see them at the strangest points of time. Like when we were at shore leave, you know, I had more conversation with Robin Curtis uh, at the hot dog line, which was I was trying to warn her, don't eat that, but and saying things like, well, I have your phone number of your agent. What would be a good time? She looked at the phone number, said, oh no, that's my phone number. Call me anytime. Hun, hun. So it's like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
But they are just people. They're people like everyone else, and they have to catch planes at the same time, and they have to get home, and they need to relax, and they need to do things, and it's just you try to treat everybody the same, but at the same time with respect, and bring out the best of them, and as you've obviously done. So who would you love to that you haven't yet had the opportunity to meet or an interview?
That's funny because actually someone just recently asked me that question a few days ago. Who haven't I interviewed that? I would love to interview, and the first person that comes to mind is Tom Hanks. I would
Okay.
love to sit in the room, talk to him about, especially the new movie he's coming out with in a few weeks here. I would love to talk to him. I'd love to talk to Steven Spielberg,
Mm.
who, I mean, I would love to interview President Obama. I would love
Oh,
to
yeah.
sit in the room because it's like, okay, I've interviewed celebrities, actors, directors, producers, interviewed someone on the Senate, but I never interviewed a president. So it's like, I think I need to hit President. Hell, I like to interview Kamala Harris because
Oh,
since she's a fellow HBCU graduate, go HU, Howard, and I'm Bowie State, so we're not too far. So I
yeah.
think so. I mean, there's a long line of lists, and to tell you the truth, Bob, that's the reason I kept this going for 15 years because it's like every year, either I get a great interview that I met before and we're just catching up, or I'm gonna get someone new that I'm pinching myself like, how the hell did I get to interview this person? In fact, for 2024, the surprise interview that I never thought I would get, but I got was Nathan Lane so far.
Hmm.
And he,
Yeah, that I imagine went very well. He would
yes,
probably
and
be
he was,
very
I'm sorry,
interesting. I think he'd be very interesting,
oh
and
yes,
music too.
he
You know.
was. I mean, we were talking about him winning the Stephen Sondheim Award, and especially there was a specific song that he sung in the Birdcage, and his history of working with Sondheim and his musicals. And I got a pretty damn good story. He kept me laughing, and he was sensational. And especially, he wished my magazine a 15th anniversary. And when it comes to those anniversaries, it's like whoever I can get to give us an anniversary shout out, I will welcome it. And I think so far, the best ones have been the 10th anniversary because during the 10th, not only I got Pinky and the Brain to wish me a happy anniversary in their voices. I did not ask them to do it in their voices. They just went into it. And then I had the two men, the two of the famous voices, Dennis Haysbert and Sam Elliott, wish us a happy 10th anniversary. It's like, okay, now I just need Morgan Freeman and so many other famous voices for our anniversary, future anniversaries, and we're golden.
Oh man. Yeah, the anniversaries are cool. When I worked for my county library system, which I can't believe now is it's been a number of years since then, and they had their 90th anniversary, and next
Mm,
year it's going to be the 100th anniversary.
wow.
I was able to reach out to Weird Al Yankovic, and who had written a children's book at the time, around the same time,
Yep.
and asked if he would, just do and I wrote out a little script and do a little video congratulations of that. And I was amazed that, well, it took some time, but, once we connected and he agreed and he just sent it back, didn't change one word out of the script I had. And we had it on social media and the video. It was really cool and very nice. And my only regret was that when he did finally come to this area, New Jersey, I didn't get a chance to go and personally meet him and thank him for that. I mean, we did give him a thank you, but I would have loved to have actually shook his hand and you know. So
Oh
I
yeah,
hope the library decides to go reach out to him again for the 100th. Now I can't believe it's been 10 years since then.
they should. They
But
should.
uh, so, what are your other fandom plans in the future? I know your chapter is very active. I was just reading the MSR today. In fact,
Hmm.
you guys have been keeping busy and having fun, which is what it's all about. So, what's
Well,
what's on
let's
the
see.
horizon for the Mae Jameson?
Well, the May Jemison, we got a couple of activities in mind. In fact, I was actually just dropping by and I found there's a bowling alley not too far from my new location in Maryland since I just moved back to Maryland a few months ago. So I'm thinking a bowling tournament is coming up in the near future. And I have a feeling that we may do our commissioning party along with another party, but I haven't finalized the plans yet. As far as Farragut goes, I will be back on set for Farragut Forward later in the fall since we just released our first movie, and as of a few days ago, it has reached over 60,000 views. It's been a couple
Yeah,
weeks. If you
it was
haven't
good.
watched it, watch the film. Watch the film.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just going to conventions. In fact, I'm actually going to be not too far from you. I'm going to be at the convention in New Jersey, the Creation Convention.
Oh, okay. I will see you there. Emily and I and some other of my crew will be there, and other crews, I'm sure. Avenger, Justice, in that
Mhm.
vicinity. Coming up for that in November. I think
Yep.
the second or third weekend of November.
I think it's the first weekend, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, you could be right. Yeah, I got
But
so
yeah,
many things on the calendar. To keep. That's right. I think the 16th is the Justice's anniversary, so I better not get that mixed up.
mm-mm.
Where they're gonna kill me. So,
No,
because
definitely not. Otherwise, I'll be going to. Oh no, I think it is the second weekend because the first weekend I just remembered, the Halloween weekend, I am going to the Virginia Film Festival down in
yeah,
Charlottesville. So my media work continues no matter if I'm doing Farragut or this. It's like there's lots of things happening in the world of entertainment, and I'm just keeping my finger on the pulse. We both are.
yeah, you've got like at least three big plates to be rotating around. Of
Well, fourth, since I have a budding relationship too, so I can't forget about the relationship.
Oh yes, it's very important to give that special time.
Hmm.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so let's see what else, because we're actually running into, we have some extra time. Um, what are what would you like to do as far as any kind of if you had a chance to do your own film, for example, what what would you do if you had that opportunity or had the chance to write a script? Did you get a chance to pitch any scripts for the Farragut project, or did you help them maybe do some rewriting, or
I
uh,
haven't pitched any ideas, but during the time I was with Farragut, I helped out with a few character names, developing some new character names like Dr. Durham, played by the lovely Rakia May. I did some research because I wanted the doctor to honor an African American in some shape or form. And Dr. Durham, I believe, was one of the first doctors to graduate from Harvard, if I remember correctly. I'll have to go back since it's been so long since I've researched the name. And the best thing I love about Farragut was when it comes to the scripts and acting out our characters, we don't get tied to the script too much. For example, there was a scene I did with my character in The Crossing, which is one of the best, brilliant episodes I ever acted in, and it was ever written. And then it came to my character having his hero moment. And when I read the initial line, it did not feel right for me because, especially when Logan was getting ready to try to interfere with Morris being taken to the agony booth. And I felt in that moment my character didn't have that right moment that his colleague, his partner in crime, the person who sits next to him on the bridge is fearing for his life. And I talked to Paul about it and I said, can I change it to this? Because I feel when Morris becomes this way, it would add more weight to what the situation he was facing, that he is sacrificing his life to protect his crew. And he loved my idea. And what you saw on film was the idea that I brought to the table as far as that moment for my character. And when I look back on that moment, I said, I'm glad that I said something, because since I've been playing Morris for a number of episodes, I felt I know this character. I know what he does, his inner strengths, his inner weaknesses. And I want him to show that inner strength that's bursting out to make sure that he knows he's in danger. He knows his life is in danger. He knows the crew's in trouble,
Hmm.
but he can't show it. He has to be brave. And I love that moment. I really do. It was one of the best moments of my character ever portrayed. But going back to your original character question, if I ever do a fan film, since I'm a lover of history, I would love to do something like getting stuck on a holodeck program, but it's a holodeck program of the 20th century. And I would tie to something like an escape room in a way, try to figure out clues on how to get out of this holodeck. But it's a work in progress. I remember writing a story for Starfleet that involves the first Gorn in Starfleet and how that played out. And it nearly got to the point about a decade later where it was going to turn into a story for either Star Trek Ranger or Star Trek Valkyrie, the two audio productions I was involved in at the time. So my writing almost got published and almost got into a story, but hopefully one day, if I go back into some more creative writing, maybe one day a story will come and we'll be able to act it out.
Yeah, and there are so many opportunities, it seems now. We have seen the Star Trek franchise reinvigorated, and it's hard to believe it came with Star Trek Discovery, which just
Mhm.
wrapped up this year.
Yes.
Personally, I thought I enjoyed this last season. We were talking about it at an event that Challenger took part in on Saturday. Um, and we have Lower Decks finishing up, which I'm a little sad about because I
Mhm.
thought it could go more than 5 seasons. I thought
Right. Yep.
it was a lot of fun, a little more offbeat, but tremendous fun. Um, and of course, Strange New Worlds is going strong. Um,
Mhm.
although we know there's got to be an end game there because sooner or later it's going to intersect with the beginning, and I don't really think they're going to just maybe they'll do some early pre Where No Man Has Gone Before episodes. I don't know, but
Who knows? And
we
then we
don't.
got Starfleet Academy, which is filming right now. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and
that's
Section 31 movie coming out. So it's like Star Trek, we maybe lose a few, but we are gaining a few more. So.
yeah, exactly. And I think Prodigy is on Netflix. I can't say I actually got into that too much, but was just around the time when I decided, oh, I'm going to catch all the episodes. That's when they announced that they had canceled it off of Paramount Plus, and just later on it was moving to Netflix. And I was
Mhm.
told better check it out before they pull it from Paramount Plus. And of course, by the time I did, it was gone. I,
Mhm.
I see that in my DVD collection in the future if I purchase that now.
Oh yeah.
So, but no, I do think that we will see more projects. Maybe we'll see more like Section 31, which is, I believe, is it a movie now or is it
Yeah,
a
it's a
mini series?
standalone movie from what I've heard. Just a standalone.
Yeah, so I think that much like the fan films, which kind of paved the way when you think about it, and gave us a glimpse back to early, the missing episodes of, in some respects from the original series, and
Mhm.
also ships that were also at the same time the Enterprise was out on their original mission, going out there and you know doing their thing and having their adventures and missions. So
Absolutely. And the best thing I love about the fan films, especially not only started to watch them when they first came out with Starship Exeter and New Voyages was they gave other crews adventures. We hear about the
Mhm.
Enterprise, which is great, but big Starfleet. So to see Starship Exeter, then to see Starship Farragut, and then see the films from Vance Owen and see the Hidden Frontier, which used a lot of screen, but gave us the 24th century tech and Trek, and to see all these audio and video fan films that have come and gone over these past 20 years, it's been a blessing that we really have not ran out of Star Trek during this time. Even when Enterprise was ending, New Voyages was just starting, and it opened the floodgates to the golden age of fan films as we know it. And there's been fan films that's still going, like us, and there are fan films that we wish they were still continuing. But we have to be grateful for the Trek fan films and the audio productions that kept the dream alive until the television renaissance that is Discovery, Picard, Stranger Worlds, Prodigy, and The Cabinet. And Lower Decks. We can't forget about Lower Decks.
And it must have felt really cool after a little bit of absence from the original Farragut to go back to to a different era of Star Trek, the Monster Maroon era, skipping over the motion picture thing, but and putting those uniforms on and seeing updated sets and things like that.
Yes, it was amazing. Even though prior to doing the actually no, it was in between. It was kind of like a mixed bag for me because I had to step back into the classic era for a bit because of our sister ships, Dreadnought Dominion. They were looking for another crew to take part of this mission, and they called the Constitution. And when Mike Bednar, who plays Robert Tackett, asked me if I wanted to become the executive officer, and I said yes, I said, "Oh yeah, that's right. It's just going to be a little bit before the Monster Maroon." So my character had to look a little bit different because I aged since then, so it's like I had to grow out the goatee, so he looks a little bit older, and he's an executive officer. And then I had to wear the engineering color instead of the gold color, and it felt great. But the best moment for stepping back into that role was at the end of that episode. My character got to take the con, and it was around the time when Nichelle Nichols passed away when we filmed it. And I thought when I read that script and when it came time to film it, Nichelle never had the chance to sit in this chair.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking in my head, for Nichelle, for Sharon, this is for you. And sit in that captain's chair as one of the few African Americans to sit in the captain's chair in a fan film, let alone a series.
Yeah.
And to feel that pride that this has happened, because I never thought, because I thought, my character is a helmsman, is a navigator, and then I get to sit in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before I took command of the HMS. So I was like, I guess this was destiny. I get to sit in the captain's chair once again. So it was wonderful. But I'm grateful for the fan films because it provided more stories and new stories to new crews that we never knew existed in Starfleet. But here they are. Brand new stories, brand new crews, a big Starfleet.
Yeah, and focusing on different eras and it is definitely a part of the legacy of Star Trek.
Yes.
And Paramount would do well to remember that. And and I know they're kind of looking at how it's presented, but I think it was really instrumental in getting the franchise, back on track and seeing that there was still loads of interest out there,
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you could do, Hercules is going to come out pretty soon to remind us to plug, provide all your, contacts and how people can reach you. And this is your opportunity to promote everything: the Rogers Review, the USS Mae Jameson, and anything else you wish to plug. So,
All right. Hey everyone, this is Dean Rogers, and I got a few things to plug. First of all, if you're looking for a Starfleet chapter and you are living in the DC metropolitan area, I want you to join the USS Mae Jemison. We are named after the brilliant astronaut scientist, Dr. Mae Jemison. We honor her legacy on our Odyssey class starship. And if you want more information, join us at ussmayjemison.org. Or if you can't find us on the website, go to region7.com and click on chapters and find the Mae Jemison. But if you like Star Trek, but you want to find more entertainment value, whether it's news, reviews, or interviews of the entertainment capital, check us out online anytime at The Rogers review spelled REVUE.com. You can like us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We're all the same at The Rogers Review. Or you can find us on YouTube. We have great video interviews. In fact, one of our most popular interviews is not a Star Trek one, but of Wonder Woman, the original Wonder Woman, Linda Carter. So check it out. It's still popular after 8 years. And check me out as Roy Morris, whether he's a cadet or commander. Type in Starship Farragut on YouTube, or Farragut Forward for our latest movie, which, as I mentioned earlier, has over 60,000 views. Check it out before we start our second one, which is coming up sometime in the near future. And I think that's all the buzz I have.
Oh, that's right. How could I have forgotten about Linda Carter? Because I actually watched that when we were initially scheduled to do, when you were originally scheduled for the show. That must have been quite an experience as well, because she's truly wonderful from everything I've heard.
Definitely is. But every celebrity I have interviewed have been wonderful, been great, and I can't wait to see what the next year holds, because I have a feeling it's going to be bigger, it's going to be better, and we're going to have a good time, no matter what.
Yeah. And you've gotten just more and more experience under your belt, and you're more and more comfortable and confident, and, a lot more adventures to come in fandom and in your media endeavors. And I wish only the best for you. To reach me, of course, is the same, usschallenger.org, beamaboard@aol.com. And of course, check out region7.com and sfi.org. If depending on where you are, you could check out a listing of Starfleet chapters across the globe. So thank you for all joining us, and I can't believe I'm actually on time this time. That Hercules to remind me. Usually he's like, guys, it's time,
Oh yeah. Well, time flies when you're having fun, especially when you're doing interviews.
Yeah. I think that's something that we also have in common, is that you get started and you get talking, and before you know it, it's like, oh my gosh, it's done already.
Oh yeah.
Thank you both for a wonderful, informative, inspiring show. I'm going to look you up on Facebook, and I will look you up online. This was a great interview, and I'm glad that it finally happened.
Me too.
This
Me
will
too.
be up on YouTube by tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks again. Thanks for joining us, Dean.
Always. Thanks for the pleasure. I'm glad we finally did it. And as we both mentioned, we'll see each other in about a month.
Yep. Okay.